welcome to another video. So today, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this is my guide on how I read big books. Please excuse Bella, she is meowing in the background. It is nearly 2 hours until her dinner time, so she is currently just singing the song of her people to make sure that I don't, starve her to death. So she's going to be being irritating, basically, and we are just going to ignore her. Bless you, Bella. Anywho, big books. So I have got the one that is the most intimidating to me, Priory of the Orange Tree. This is a weapon. It's bigger than my head. Most things are bigger than my head. I have a very small head. It's very, very large. It weighs about the same weight as a small car, I assume. And is very, very intimidating. So, how do I tackle big books? Well, what I thought I would do today is just talk to you about how I read bigger books and also why. For me, I love a big book, and I count a big book as pretty much anything that's over 500 pages. And again, that's just my own personal view. You might say a big book is something over 300 pages. You might say a big book is something over 800. That's completely, optional, whatever you decide. For me, I think about 500 pages plus is a big book. And for me, like I said, I love big books, and the reason is you get so much more depth. You get more character development, you get more plot development, you get more world building. You just get so much more from the book when it is big. But of course, they're not the easiest books to read just because they are big and intimidating. So I'm going to share with you some of my tips on how I tackle big books. So one of the first things that I do when I have a big book to read is I break it down. I work out what do I want to read per day, and I break it into sections. So that might be 100 pages a day, that might be 50 pages, it might be more, less, whatever. It might be that I've got to have this read by a certain date, so I've got 20 days to read it, so I'm going to divide the page count by 20 and read that many pages per day. It might be that I'm just reading it for fun and I know I can read about 100 pages a day, so I do that. I might think, actually, this is incredibly dense, I'm going to do 50 pages a day or 20 pages a day. But yeah, my first tip is I break the pages, I break it down, I put it into sections, and I'm trying to see if I've got any that I've done this with. Actually, I have. It's not a big book, but I did this recently with Iron Widow. I've broken it down, I've got post-it notes, as you can see, in the top with all of my page breakdowns. When I hit that page, these are every 50 pages, I can take out the post-it note and I'm done with the day's reading. I just find it means that I've got that sense of accomplishment every however many pages. It's an achievable target for me to hit each time because I've set it myself. And it just means that I know that I am getting through it. I'm not looking at it and going, oh my God, the next break is page 800 and something. I mean, how many pages is Priory? 830 if I include the acknowledgements and everything else. 830 pages is terrifying to read. But say 50 odd pages a day over 2 weeks. That's doable. I can do that, and then I finish the whole book. So first of all, I break it down. My next tip is audiobook. Mix it up. Listen to the audiobook. Listen while you're reading. Read on your Kindle. Read physically. Try just different formats. I have not finished Priory. I am currently that far through Priory, 152 pages, and I put it down about 2 years ago. I would need to restart the book now. And mainly because, as you can tell, I did nothing. I followed none of my tips and I just read it. I was reading it on Kindle, wasn't really getting that far. Picked it up physically, didn't get that far. I do own the audiobook, and I feel like audio would be the way to go with this book, just because, especially this is the hardback, it's so big, it's so chunky that actually it's quite hard to read physically because it is heavy. And with Kindle, I don't have that physical post-it note of stop or a way to kind of really physically see how far I'm getting through. The percentage at the bottom is cool and all, but for me personally, I like something that's a bit more tangible. So audio and read along, I think, is going to be the way that I'm going to tackle Priory. And then my last tip is find someone to read with you. If you've got a friend who's reading the same book or who wants to read the same book, get them to buddy read with you. Whether that's setting like an amount of pages per week, per month, or just let's read this book this month. It's having that accountability of someone else reading it is really, really helpful for me personally. As an example. So with buddy reads, these don't even need to be live buddy reads. So Becca from Becca and the Books, her book club, the Catch Up Book Club, for the last 2 years was reading The Realm of the Elderlings. I didn't take part in that read along, but I really want to read The Live Ship Traders. This is book 1, Ship of Magic. And so when I do get round to that, I am going to be almost taking part in the read along, but 2 years down the line, by reading the book, tuning into the live discussion, watching then that live discussion back, and feeling like I've then got that kind of accountability of I need to have read this by this date, which sounds crazy. It absolutely is mad, but I find it really helps. But if you are looking to read any big books, especially big fantasy books, let me know down below, because there's a good chance that it's on my TBR and it is scaring me, and I also want to read it. So we can be buddies, we can buddy read. But they are my tips for tackling big scary books. Break it down, change your format, get a buddy. If you've got any other tips for big books, drop them down below. Let me know what the biggest book that you've ever read was. I think my biggest is probably Kingdom of Ash, which is just shy of 1,000 pages. It's 900 and something. However, I know I've got books, like I've got some Brandon Sandersons, which I've got the paperbacks, so they're split in 2, but are technically over 1,000 pages. They scare me. They just terrify me. So yeah, let me know what your biggest book is, if you've got any other tips on how to read big books. If you like this video, leave me a like, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.